for that, Gemma. And thank you for letting me speak here as well. I don't know how many of you in the audience are economists, or maybe you've studied economics at high school or university. I'm going to be talking a little bit about economics and in relation to veganism as well. You're probably thinking, how do those two connect? There's actually quite a connection, and unfortunately it's been done in quite a bad way in many ways as well. So I'm just going to explain a few things. But as you can see here, apologize, the mic is very short. Alright, so there's the good side and the bad side in regards to economics and how economics actually affects farming, for example, or the treatment of animals. And the bad side of it is what I'm going to get into first. So some of you may not like some of the things I have to say, but I feel I have to say them anyway, because this is the truth. I don't know how many of you in the audience are vegans today. Some of you will be very familiar with the stuff I'm going to mention about and how it relates to economics, and some of you may not be, but I think it's something that needs to be said. So I'm going to look at the first part, and I'm going to call it, for the sake of argument, narrow economics. So basically, we talk about things such as efficiency. So that is about earning as much money as you can for a given product. So when we talk about efficiency, oops, this is super sensitive, I'll try and get it right. Here we go, efficiency. So what's efficiency all about? First of all, it's about producing as much as you can, as fast as you can, producing a quality, high quality, or a perceived high quality, should we say, by our consumers, and trying to get the cost as low as possible. And that sounds okay for many, many businesses. You know, maybe you're churning out computers, you're churning out cars and stuff like that. Sure, you want the cheapest cost for the car, and you want it produced as fast as possible. Well, what does that happen when it comes to animals? It doesn't work out quite so nicely. So I've got a picture here of some chickens, and they've been crammed into these little tiny cages. And this doesn't just apply to chickens, this applies to many animals. So you cram them in as small a space as you possibly can, and what do? You save costs, you save land, am I correct? So that's how you get some of the costs down. Also, you can feed them GMO food, which is pumped into the animals, that is cheaper to produce and in much larger quantities. And quite frankly, you can see the two tomatoes there. Which one do you think is more appetizing, you know? The organic or the GMOs is just what I got out of, I think, Google Images. Anyone have a go? Which one would you rather have?
The left one.
Not the left one? The red one? The red tomato? Not that, no, what color would you call that?
Brown.
It doesn't look great, does it? But this is the kind of stuff that we're giving to animals. In fact, this is the kind of stuff we're eating ourselves. A lot of the stuff in our supermarkets is actually GMO. What else do? They make the animals bigger, faster. Just look at this. You've got an enormous pig here. And what happens if the pig is enormous? You're going to get more meat off the pig. Am I correct? And these animals, like chickens, whatever, they're becoming twice the size of adult chickens within literally months. And they just grow so big so fast. And a lot of these animals struggle to actually move on their own weight, which is very, very sad. And it's a very, very miserable life for them. As you can see here, this pig here kind of looks a bit like Oksha. Have any of you seen the movie Oksha? It's come out recently on Netflix. It's actually a very interesting movie. It's about these giant pigs that are produced for meat. And it's done in such a way, it's very sad at the end when they go off to slaughter. And Oksha just happens to be one of those pigs that goes off to slaughter. But I'm not going to give the end of the movie away. But it's definitely one to watch if you guys have Netflix. And I think it came out about a week ago. I think it's fairly recent. So there they are, pumped with hormones. And I've got a rather disturbing picture here. And this doesn't relate so much to quantity or speed, but this is a quality thing. How many of you guys out here like bacon? No bacon lovers here. Do you know what they do to pigs to make bacon? You know what's happening to this pig here? Getting boiled alive. Suffering immense torture and pain. And what I'm saying about quality, and this is quality from the consumer's point of view. You want tasty bacon, you get a tortured pig. Is your tasty bacon worth tortured pig? That's entirely up to you, you know? That is something that you have to think about. But from the big company's point of view, the big farm point of view, It's about churning out profits. They can get this meat out as cheap as possible, as much meat for as little money spent as you possibly can, and that's what these companies want because it makes them money. And according to economics, that's how it works. One aspect of economics. And for many people who are into eating meat, this is what you get. Food that you kind of think is really yummy. Personally, I've been vegan now for over a year. I've been off of meat. In fact, I've been off of dairy as well. I'm not covering dairy today, but dairy's kind of bad in its own way. Again, a lot of it's orientated around profits. Not only do this meat in itself cheaply produced and animals suffer, there's also a number of complications relating to meat products, such as what we got down here. We got risk of heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, many other forms of cancer, and basically dying early. Because in your meat, you've got a lot of protein, you've got a lot of fats. And people always talk about the protein. In fact, not many people are actually protein deficient. People are more deficient of fiber than of protein. And how does this feed in? And it doesn't end here. You talk about economics. You talk about people getting sick. And again, this may upset some people, but being sick is good for business. And you know why that is? Treatments. Treatments make a lot of money. A lot of money is being made out of cancer, the cancer treatments. A lot of money is going into donations. A lot of money is going into vaccines and all sorts of stuff. And who makes the money? Big pharmaceutical companies make a lot of money out of this. And that is an ugly side of economics. And the government generally don't do too much about it. I worked in the government for about 10 years. And there's one thing that governments like, and that's problems. Because if you've got a problem, you can offer a solution. And if you can offer a solution, you can gain popularity. So have as many problems as you can, and try not to solve the problems you have, but more like extending these problems. You might be mitigating to a certain extent, but as long as you get that flow through, as long as you can be the hero of the day, then governments are generally not going to stop this. But economics isn't all bad, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So this is a very narrow perspective of economics. This is focusing on efficiency, and that is from a company's perspective. But it doesn't have to be this way. There's a book by David Robinson Simon. I've seen his website. It's got some interesting stuff. It's called Meatonomics. And this looks at the costs, again from our perspectives, but the cost that actually goes into meat. As you can see, this is based on the US. This is a US book, so we don't actually have the numbers for Australia. But I wouldn't be surprised if you'd see something similar along the lines. Obviously, numbers are going to be a lot smaller because you've got a much smaller population. But look at the costs in terms of healthcare. Look at the costs in terms of cruelty, environment, and all of this stuff. So I'm going to just quickly break down some of the stuff that's mentioned in Meatonomics, and also some of the stuff that's mentioned in Cowspiracy, which my sister was talking about earlier, a documentary that really moved her, and it really moved me as well, because I recommended it to her. I was on a slower path to veganism. I wasn't quite like my sister. I couldn't just turn overnight. I stopped eating beef overnight. I kept on chicken for a while. I became vegetarian, and then, because I wasn't drinking much milk, then I made the conversion to full vegan, which was around June last year. So I haven't been very long. So I spent most of my life chomping on meat. As you can see here, what do cows do? They produce a lot of waste. 2,500 cows compared out to over 400,000 people. This is taken from the Environmental Protection Agency. How about air pollution? We're going to talk about transportation, we're talking about trucks and stuff. But cows actually produce a lot of methane, which actually is very bad for our environment. They also consume lots and lots of water. You compare the amount of water that goes into 1 pound of meat compared to 1 pound of wheat. There's absolute massive difference, 2,400 gallons compared to 25. What about land? Funny enough, I talked about land, how you're going to get as many animals into as small a space as you possibly can. Even though they're trying to do that, 1/3 of the land's ice-free land is actually used for livestock or feed. That's a lot of land that's being taken up. That's a lot of land that's coming away from other animals. The environment's being pulled away. And how about health, as I mentioned earlier? It's been proven that eating meat can cause a lot of problems, and cancer in particular. So this is what Meatonomics came up, what they figured to be the cost of a Big Mac. So this was back, it would have been probably like 5 or 6 years ago. This is in US dollars, just for your, and that was, they're selling for about $4.56. So the cost to McDonald's is probably significantly lower than $4.56. But you're adding the costs that are calculated by Meatonomics, and it comes up to $12. And this, bearing in mind, I don't think they've gone all the way. They're looking at costs to us in terms of money that we have to pump in regards to improving, reducing cruelty in costs, external costs such as the environment and all of that. So I don't think it's gone all the way, and I've done a little bit of work myself, which is a little bit hard to actually put a value on certain things. Like, what hasn't been considered is the life of the cow, or the life of the chicken, or the life of the pig. These animals, their lives have been cut dramatically short. Like cows can live up to 20 years. In captivity, they've grown big and massive and they die after about 18 months. And I've taken here the value of statistical life, which is calculated in a number of ways, number of surveys and stuff, how much a human life is worth. And it's been adjusted for inflation and stuff like that. So that was about 10 million. And adjusted for cows in terms of life expectancy and intelligence. But I'm not overly keen on the idea of putting a value on a life, a dollar value. The purpose of this was, in the economics world, it's mostly about dollars and it's a way of communicating something. As I got here, I made a few adjustments in regards to the life that's been wasted and also the cost of cruelty, and I've assumed that that 18 months is almost like having no life at all. And if you've watched videos such as Lucent or Earthlings, you have a very good idea that the life they have is a life not worth living. And I had my own adjusted price for a Big Mac. And you're thinking, wow, okay, $222 or $223 probably seems rather massive, but this is just based on the life of the cow. You're chopping up the cow into little pieces and stuff like that. So you're actually talking about millions and millions of dollars per life of a cow, if we're being realistic, or 200,000, sorry, whatever it was, or 400,000 when I adjusted it. So, of course, you don't have a whole cow per burger, but this is just an adjustment, and this is what I put into dollars. And this is not quite the direction I want to go with vegan economics. This is the name I got for it now, and eventually I'm going to be trying to get this into a book, so hopefully you guys might be interested in that. But I'll be looking at it from a slightly different angle. Be familiar with behavior economics. This is about what we really value in life. Like, for example, I don't know, do you want to spend 60 hours, 70 hours of work a week, earn lots of money, and you never really enjoy it? Well, like, how does this affect animals? What do they enjoy? And a lot of the things we see from animals, there's a lot of similarities between a lot of, especially mammals, are very similar to humans in terms of what they enjoy and what they value in life. Like, how many of you here feel that you want to be loved by someone? Everybody. Do you think animals feel that way? Do you think they feel love towards each other?
Yes.
Many of them, I think it's very obvious if you observe their behavior. And, well, many of them like comfort. Many of them like this guy, lazing around. They want to have their space. They want to be in comfort. How many of you people would like to sleep on a concrete floor every single night? No? Would you want to sleep on a bed? You would, right? Do you think this guy here would want to sleep on a concrete floor? No. You see, it's the same. I'm going to speak for mammals. I know there's lots of different animals in the world, and it's easy for us to relate to. But I'm hoping that eventually that we can recognize that animals feel things very, very similar to what we feel. You think, what is an animal made up of? It's made up of bones. We're made up of bones. We've got flesh, we've got skin, we've got organs, we've got eyes, we've got nose, we've got ears. A lot of what we experience is what they experience. They don't have the benefit of having a language and saying, hey, this sucks, stop torturing me. We can, and it should be us that speak out for these animals. And this is what I'm trying to bring into economics. I want to try and move away from this very narrow paradigm. I want us to look at things more broadly. And if you look at it more broadly, you realize that you don't have to cause suffering to others. You don't have to cause suffering to other people. And in fact, you go back far enough time, we did torture each other. And in many cases, some countries, they still do. I like to think we can rise above that in regards to the way that we treat animals. And this last thing here, this is something I'm going to mention as well within the book. I'm still developing the idea. But this is valuing our time rather than necessarily the money that we earn, or the quantity, or the number of cars, or the size of the house, and all of that stuff. It is more about valuing your time on this planet in the sense that we can recognize that the same with animals. And this takes me to the end of my presentation. Again, this is what I'm calling at the moment vegan economics, and I say it's an idea in development. And I've got my YouTube channel, which is Spectrum of Economics. I've got a few videos regarding vegan economics at the moment. I look at the cost of Big Macs, the cost of meat. I've got another one that I talk a little bit about my veganism. And I've also got a few other videos, not necessarily relating to veganism here today, but related to economics as well. So it's a little bit broader than that. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for this and hand back over to Gemma.